So ResourceKeeper is an initiative to kind of realign ourselves with a better architecture for our technology. So as long as I've been with Davey, when I started, we had work planning software on the field side. We had TreeKeeper 7 for the office side. We would also have the RowKeeper sites. That is the blue system, as we all call it, because it had a very pronounced blue background. Eventually, we bolted a suite onto TreeKeeper 7. So with that suite, we were able to have a mobile solution. We were able to build a public awareness outreach site called My TreeKeeper. And then we also had the TreeKeeper 7 product for the operations piece. Eventually, starting in 2014, 2015, we started to modernize this architecture that had been around since the early 2000s. We built Rover to replace work planning. We built My RowKeeper to replace the TreeKeeper 7 suite. Eventually, work planning software went away, and then the TreeKeeper 8 product was built off of the My RowKeeper platform. And in all of this, we have this other piece of software, the ResourceKeeper, that lives in both worlds. It's field software and office software. And most of our focus has been making sure that the key functionality that exists in Rover exists in ResourceKeeper. We're about to move forward now on starting to move over that key functionality from that TreeKeeper 8 code base into the ResourceKeeper product. Once we accomplish that, then we have one solution, just the ResourceKeeper solution. We're using the same software in the field as we're using in the office. So for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to see ResourceKeeper yet, we have 32 pilot projects that are using ResourceKeeper right now. But here's an overview of the screen layout. So the first thing to point out is the feature clustering. We group GIS layers together into a cluster. As you zoom in, those bullet points would expand out so you can see the underlying features for them. And then your common GIS functionality you expect, like manual zooming and zoom to extent. We have GPS interactions. We have routing built into the system. We have a layer menu, and we also have integration with our RowKeeper system so we can upload and download data to TreeKeeper 8s and My RowKeepers. Adding a feature is pretty straightforward. You zoom in on the map, you choose the feature panel and click the layer you're adding and hit add. And the data entry form will come up. In this data entry form, you can attach photos to the record. You can move the feature if you needed to. You also have that transfer value functionality that I talked about earlier with TreeKeeper 8, where based on where you drop the point, it's pulling in information from the parcel layer in this example. And you have the same Rover My RowKeeper attributes that you would expect. I mean, it's all talking to the same database behind the scenes, including database application calculations. Like, for example, ASP1 ID is something that's automatically calculated when we upload to RowKeeper. That's an ID for the contractors on this project. The call-out box, you can identify a feature on the map. It'll bring up this little call-out box. And then from that call-out box, you can apply some common edits. So in this case, a common edit was, we want to mark this job as the wood pickup has been closed. And so as a result, we can hit the Apply Rule button. We can choose wood pickup closed, hit Apply Rule, and then it'll automatically populate all the information here. And then also, if you're connected online, it'll upload it immediately in real time, as that little toast message says in the upper corner. And if you apply the rule and you're like, oops, I didn't mean to do that, you can undo the rule. It'll revert back to what it was before. All right. The routing functionality of the system is the something that I have marked as beta. So we put a little bit of time in developing this, and then the partner that we were working with, they got caught up in some other things and they weren't really able to help us forward. So I'm reaching out to the group, if you're interested in using ResourceKeeper and you want to experiment with its ability to route work more effectively, then let me know, because I definitely want to get some tangible feedback from our users on the feasibility of this system. Also, we have GPS enable, and you can see that it's got the star, and it's giving an estimated accuracy of where that star is based on its readings of that GPS stream. When we look at our software development roadmap for ResourceKeeper and some of the initiatives and objectives that we have underway, you can see that we got a lot of things that are in testing. It was primarily built as a paperless workflow tool initially, tool for like contractors be able to mark jobs as being completed as they were planned by our planners. We're constantly vigilant against requested issues, and we're working down that backlog of requested issues. But we're at a point now where we're getting ready to start a new initiative. So like, can we use ResourceKeeper for field safety checks? How would we integrate with Timekeeper? What about the routing tool? How about call, work record, and work order support so our municipal customers can take more advantage of this tool as an offline capable mechanism? Google Maps integration, reporting. So there's a lot of focus on these objectives, and I'm definitely open to some suggestions. So if you have some thoughts on what we should be focusing on for ResourceKeeper, please reach out to me and share those thoughts. So, points of contact. Is ResourceKeeper a good fit for your project? If you're using MyRowKeeper, Rover, TreeKeeper 8, then it's very likely that ResourceKeeper is a good start for you to start investigating. Do you have questions about some of the 32 pilot projects that we're currently using this technology on? Do you have a demonstration opportunity in your mind? This system demonstrates very well. Customers love seeing it. It's a clean looking application. Gets the juices flowing during a software demonstration for sure. Just reach out to one of the Justins. Justin Walters manages this. He's a services coordinator. He does a great job of applying this technology on utility projects. Or myself, if you have other questions about ResourceKeeper and the directions we're going with it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Will customizing a resource application be more similar to building a rover or building a TreeKeeper? That's Rochelle Wolf with the services team asked that. It's a good question. The best part about ResourceKeeper, in my opinion, is when you set up a TreeKeeper 8 or MyRowKeeper, you are setting up a ResourceKeeper. It more or less is using the exact same back-end database that those products are using for their customized data forms, and that's why it's so easy to transition over to a ResourceKeeper for many of our projects. Emily Spillett asks, when will ResourceKeeper be ready to roll out? So we do have 32 pilot projects running it. We do have a small problem on the municipal forestry side, and that is the desire for you guys to be able to collect both common tree or botanical tree flexibly. And we don't have a good way to ingest that data back into the back end yet, but that is something that's adding to our backlog. There's another handful of client experience posts that were created by and consolidated by Charles Amschel with the LA Parks pilot that we got to go through and start focusing on incorporating the ResourceKeeper to make it a little bit easier for the forestry users to be able to take advantage of. Tina McKeon asked, with the routing tool, can ResourceKeeper be used to plan, identify efficiencies for pruning cycles? Sort of. So the routing tool that we've built into ResourceKeeper is really kind of targeted towards that contractor experience. So the contractor's gotten issued a bundle of work, and they're starting here on the earth, right? They're starting at their yard. They can open up ResourceKeeper, bring down that bundle of work, and then route the most efficient route to get that work done. So it'll take all those waypoints more or less and feed them into OpenStreetMaps routing, and then kind of give you this is the target, this is the order that you should approach these jobs. And then each of those links each of those waypoints or stop points has a little link that you can click on that'll then open Google Maps, and then you can use Google Maps turn-by-turn directions to actually get there. So ResourceKeeper will take a data set, feed it through the routing algorithm, produce an order of how those routes should be done, and then you can click on any of those routes and put it into Google Maps, so that way you can have turn-by-turn directions as well as road closure notifications or real-time traffic reports. Jim Kozak asked if ResourceKeeper can be used on iOS, Android, and Windows devices. Oh gosh, Jim, I'm sorry I didn't mention that. I should. Shame on me. ResourceKeeper is being primarily built for iOS devices. However, the technology that we're using is also compatible with Android devices as well. We're not targeting a native Windows device. However, with Windows, you'd be able to use the web browser portion of ResourceKeeper. So our focus right now is making sure it runs smooth and slick on iOS. And then when we get a set of interested users that want to focus on using Android, and it has to be Android, then we'll probably divert some development team time into making sure it works on an Android. Full disclosure, last time we tried to deploy it for Android, we ran into some hiccups, and then it was decided just to use the iOS for that project.